Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank you guys for joining us each and every time that we jump on the air and share a little bit about what's going on in the world of restaurant technology and restaurants and just kind of how they're growing and pivoting and changing and doing all sorts of different things. Many longtime listeners know that I've spent my entire adult life in the restaurant tech industry, so it's always fun to educate myself. I'm as much of a listener as I am a host on these things because I end up learning from almost every single episode from one thing or another. And so today is a very special episode. We're going to be talking with the founder of ItsaCheckmate, Vishal, and I'm not even going to try and say your last name, but Vishal, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience? You can tell everybody how to say your last name, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you guys are doing over at ItsaCheckmate.
Sure. Thank you, Jeremy, for having me. It's Vishal Agarwal. I think the most common pronunciation here is Agarwal.
Yeah, I was going to say Agarwal is how I probably would have hacked it for you. So sorry about that.
No, that's absolutely fine. We wouldn't expect to go to another country and then be able to pronounce their names very accurately either, right? So absolutely acceptable. I'm Vishal Agarwal. I'm the founder and CEO of ItsaCheckmate. Like we were chatting briefly before, I moved to the US about 11 years ago, worked in another company, started ItsaCheckmate in early 2016. The idea was to develop a mobile app that you could use to pay and split your check using your phone. That was the initial concept of the company. That's why the name Checkmate.
Okay.
A lot of our new employees love to ask us this question. That's why the name Checkmate. When I was starting out, I was trying to look for the domain checkmate.com. It was going to cost me roughly about $200,000. ItsaCheckmate.com was available for $12. Very, very easy decision to make.
Yes.
So that's how we got the start. And, tried a few different things in this industry over the course of 2016 and 2017. I think in mid 2017, early 2017, I met with a few operators who said, hey, you seem like a nice guy, but the problem that you're trying to solve for me is not really the problem I have. The problem I have is this whole bunch of tablets that live on my counters from GrubHub, UberEats, DoorDash, Chow, and they provide us tremendous value, but it's a horrible situation to manage.
Mm-hmm.
That's where this idea originated from. Like, hey, let's integrate these third-party orders into the POS systems of restaurants, right? Because if you think about it, delivery orders or online orders have always been treated like the stepchild.
Yep.
Right. If a customer walks in to my restaurant and orders, that's my real business. That's who I should serve first. And then everything else is annoyance, but I will tolerate those annoyances if they are bringing in revenue for me.
Yep.
But if you were to take those orders, take the menu from the POS, sync it to the third-party platforms, take the orders from the third-party platforms, inject it into the core of their kitchen operations, right? Then it ceases to be an annoyance. Then it's a growth driver, and then I want to do more about it. So we processed our first order in June of 2017 with this integration. It's been going well since. We obviously started off servicing the SMB customer base. Our first largest client that we are immensely grateful for giving us a chance was Five Guys, our first large national brand. Since then, we have other large brands like White Castle, and we worked with Arby's, which got us an investment from the Inspire brands because of technology and service. We now work with Arby's, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Sonic in the Inspire portfolio.
Yep.
And as of last year, we signed on Wendy's.
Very cool.
Amazing client, great size. So it's really great that we are able to walk this entire spectrum of being able to service a single location mom and pop shop all the way up to an Arby's and a Wendy's.
Yep.
So really excited about this opportunity and the various products we're offering there.
Wonderful. So talk to me a little bit. Why restaurants? Were you a restaurant person? Did you grow up in family restaurants, before you moved to the States? You were trying to solve the split check thing. And oftentimes I was just on another recording earlier today, and, this person had nothing to do with restaurants. And he was sitting around with some friends and said, I need to solve this problem. And He happened to be a photographer that was, photographing fine art, and he was working with high-end restaurants that needed to get photographs of their finished dishes, and he wanted to be able to spread that beyond just where the chef is working to the third and fourth and fifth restaurants. And ultimately it created this whole recipe distribution product. And I was like, really? You were, Carl, you were a photographer turned tech guy. So where did restaurants come from? You said that the product started with the whole idea of you and your friends going out and having some drinks and not being able to split the check and having a difficult challenge, I'm assuming. But it turned into this whole tablet hell and the idea of third-party delivery integration and what that looks like. So talk to me a little bit about what's the backstory. Where did restaurant tech come from?
Sure. I wish I had that story. It's always a fascinating story. Like, hey, I was working in restaurants and I saw this problem, and my last 5 generations have been in restaurant. Nothing like that. I am born and brought up in India. Like I said, moved here 11 years ago. In the previous job, technology is what fascinated me. I'm not an engineer by design. Okay. I have not written a single line of code in my life. But I understood that technology is a means to solve a business problem.
Yes, very much so.
Right? And I started understanding about technology more and more from that perspective. How can I use technology to solve business problems and bridge the gap between the tech team and my business team? Right. So I started taking on more and more of that role. So when I wanted to start something in 2016, I really felt that restaurant industry as a whole was the furthest behind in terms of adoption of technology.
Very much so.
If not the furthest, like this is one place that could really benefit by catching up to the 2020s, right? Very honestly, I was at a restaurant at the SF airport, and I ordered my food. Like the waiter took a long time to come, and then I ordered my food, and the waiter took a long time to come and get me the check. Very close to missing my flight. I'm like, there's got to be a better solution for this.
Okay, yeah.
That's where it started. But I think the non-pervasiveness of technology in the restaurant industry is what attracted me as an opportunity here.
I love it. And you're not an engineer by trade. And again, back to the check transaction, and it's funny because obviously there's other solutions out there now that solve that problem that are a little bit different than the challenge that you guys are talking about. So talk to me a little bit about the pivot. Where did the pivot come from? How did you guys go from you're about to miss your flight in San Francisco to I've got to solve this tablet circumstance? You said you were talking to a friend and they said that because and I this is a very true story. I've got 4 children. My youngest is 7. And so 7 years ago, we got our very first DoorDash. I'm in the restaurant technology industry. I've been doing this for 25 years, almost 30 years now. And a friend, when my wife had the baby, I was traveling, and a friend texted her a gift card to DoorDash. And at the time, I didn't even know what DoorDash was. She didn't know what DoorDash was. And she's like, oh, this is like food that I can get delivered. This is strange. You've traditionally had your delivery from a pizza place or Chinese place or whatever, but you hadn't had this proliferation of these tech companies that are getting into the delivery model. And that was only 7 years ago, and it's 2020. I guess she'll be 8 this year, but still, even 8 years ago, that's a lot of the time where you guys started and these solutions started going out, and a lot of the tech companies started, and it's still very, very relevant today with tablets on the counter, and they look at the tablet and they'd enter it into the kitchen system, enter it into the transaction system, the point of sale. But how and when did that pivot come? And talk to me a little bit about that journey.
Sure. I think a lot had to do with my like I said, I loved understanding about technology and what it can do, right? When we started the first business of splitting your check and paying your checks on your phone, one aspect that I was absolutely clear about is we're not going to put another tablet on the counter for the restaurants. We want to start off with POS integrations. So when this problem came about, and I'm going to try to share my screen. I had an image that I pulled up I wanted to share with you. Um,
And for our audio listeners, I'll post the image in the blog post so you guys can go check it out if Vishal can pull it up.
yes, because we've just gone through that. Yes, there you go. Can you see this? Yes.
I will be able to here in a second. Yeah, I
Great.
absolutely can see it. Yeah,
This is
that probably looks really familiar to a lot of the listeners out there because a lot of them have this with different
yeah.
stands and different tablets. And so I'll let you finish.
No, this is 2017. Restaurant called Taco Dumbo in Brooklyn. Uh, as a want to be entrepreneur, if you look at this and you don't see an opportunity instead of a problem, then it's not the right mindset, right?
Yep.
When we said, okay, we are going to integrate with the POS systems, and that concept didn't take off that well. When we looked at this situation, and I said, well, we are already building or have built the POS integration side of it to some degree,
Uh-huh.
right? So one equation has been solved. Why not now look at the other side of the equation, which is taking the orders from GrubHub and UberEats and DoorDash and integrating those into the POS systems?
Yep.
Because even by 2017, you said 8 years ago about your daughter. So about 6 years ago, it was already at this level.
Yes.
And
Because DoorDash, I think, was one of the very, very early originators. And then, as people started to catch on, they recognized the same problem that you have. And obviously this is well before COVID and everybody experienced that, but I'll let you finish.
No, exactly right. And I think one thing that really helped me recognize this problem is because I lived in New York, and when you see this, and then every time I would walk into a restaurant with either a friend or a girlfriend, it was crazy. Like, okay, that's all you looked at, and like, okay, this is a real problem. GrubHub is really popular in New York, and obviously there was that tablet there. There's Chow now. And at that time, I don't know if you remember, there was Amazon delivery.
Yep. No, Amazon tried to do it, and Caviar, who got acquired. Yeah.
Caviar tablet right here in the screen for you. Uh, so that's where the mindset happened is, can we start off low tech? We have one part of the equation. Now I know that GrubHub would send order confirmation emails.
Yep.
Can we take those emails, parse it, and put it into the POS system? Extremely low tech, scrappy, like a startup, and it worked, and it filled a need and solved a problem. So that's where it took off from.
Yeah. Well, there's two trains of thought that I want to go down. The first is you came into the restaurant. I'm going to unshare that tablet
Yes.
tablet screenshot, and we can just talk. But so you talked about how low tech restaurants were, and part of that challenge is how disparate the technology stacks are. And I'm sure you've had the fun of running into that because you've got 400 different point of sale solutions that are deployed in different restaurants, and it should be so simple. It's not. It's not this high tech. There's so much legacy tech out there that doesn't like to play well with others, and they struggle. So why don't we talk down that train of thought and kind of the items that you had to overcome, and what did that look like? Because I can only assume, we being in restaurant tech, we have watched it in the legacy platforms that have been out there. It's tough. It's tough, and then that's not to mention the fact that you've got 20 different delivery companies out there that all do something different based on how they deal with it.
Right.
The second train of thought after we get through with that is that I want to talk about is something I talked with Carl and Meredith from the digital restaurant book. The whole idea of operationally how integrating this is going to solve your problem. But talk to me a little bit about the tech side of things, because I don't know, maybe ignorance is bliss and you just said, screw it, I'm just going to do it. And I'm going to solve some problems for people. But, as you've gone through it, I'm sure you look at the legacy players of a PosiTouch and Aloha, Micros, and then you've got the newcomers, the Toasts and the Squares, and, I don't know, there's just so many out there. So talk to me a little bit about kind of how that journey transpired.
I think a very fair point was what you mentioned, not knowing the breadth and scope of this helped me get started, right?
Yeah, because if you'd have known how known 7 years ago where you were going, maybe you wouldn't have started that whole thing. So,
but Jeremy, let me back up a second and clarify one thing, right? It's true that the restaurant industry was very behind in adoption of technology. Like I come from an e-commerce background, like Amazon, you can spin up servers, it doesn't cost you as much. But as I went through speaking to a lot of restaurant operators, literally pounding the streets and then walking indoors, what I realized was they haven't adopted technology because startups like us have burned them.
Yep. Oh, yes. Oh, very much so. And I'm not saying it about you guys particularly, but so
No,
many of them are so skeptical because they've had, oh, we're going to solve all of the world's problems with technology. And back to something you said very early, and it's a very common theme on the podcast is technology needs to solve business problems. Technology for technology's sake is worthless. Technology that's making your life better, easier, faster, smarter, better guest engagement, better staff engagement is why technology exists. So I'll let you keep going. Sorry about that.
no, absolutely. Exactly my train of thought is one of our goals here, Jeremy, is to become the plumbing of the restaurant industry's digital operations,
Yep.
right? We want to be invisible. We don't care about being visible, but we want to power it and make your life simple to manage your digital operations overall.
Yep.
A lot of startups have come, they've promised the heaven and the earth and then failed to deliver, gone out of business in a few months. And these operators are literally playing with fire.
Yeah.
Every single day. They're cooking and they're handling the technology and handling their staff. So once you burn them 2 or 3 times, they're going to be so skeptical about adopting anything new.
Yes.
Right? That was one of the earliest business philosophies we had is we will have a free trial and a month-to-month contract. We're not going to lock down anyone for long-term contracts because if we can prove ourselves, the restaurant should be able to walk away easy.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right. So we started with that philosophy. We've stuck with it right up until today. But I think going in with that mindset helped me. Like, okay, the restaurant operators are skeptical because they've been burned before,
Yep.
not because they are 20 years behind the knowledge.
They want the solutions. They genuinely want them, but they want them to work and they want to make their life better.
Exactly.
And if you can prove value, they will pay for it because it's hugely valuable.
You have to prove your ROI. Simple. So I think that's where we started. That's the approach we went down. And then honestly, as we kept looking at the POS landscape, the legacy POSs, to me, it was just opportunity.
Yep.
If you can turn those into opportunities and look at them as a way to grow your market share, then that's what I keep telling our team. Like, if you're not here solving difficult problems, then you're not relevant. Somebody else will come solve it, eat your lunch, go away.
Yeah. No, for sure.
I think that's what's continued to drive us.
Wonderful. So for those that were able to see the photo or downloaded it from the website on the audio only, those that watch it on video, you guys will get to see us going through that. But that tablet hell is an operational problem. I would actually happen to be at an Indian restaurant a couple of weeks ago with my son after guitar lessons or whatever. And we were having trouble getting service because the tablets were buzzing. And the staff member was really struggling to understand, do I take care of the tablet? Do I take care of the guest that's in my dining room? What am I doing as it relates to that? For those that have not taken this leap, talk to me about what the engagement looks like and how life changes when you build technology integration between your core point of sale system, how you're collecting payments and ringing things up, your kitchen management system, whether that be printing or video, and no longer having tablets and no longer having to have somebody sit and manage it, but having it go straight through. Talk to me a little bit about what the operator's experience, what the guest experience looks like. How does it change?
Sure. Honestly, the guest experience does not change much, right? Apart from the fact that they get their food on time and it's more accurate.
But that's huge.
It's huge.
I was just talking to another brand. 70% of their complaints were based on order accuracy online, and from third-party delivery and or first-party delivery. 70% of their complaints came from that. So the accuracy is a huge piece of it. So sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but it's huge because now you no longer have somebody having to, from a staff perspective, take that order and translate it. Every different set of hands it touches is an opportunity for error. So I'll let you finish with the guest experience, because the guest might not order differently, but their delivery of their food is going to be better.
Exactly. I think what I meant was, if you'd ordered a week ago and you ordered again today, like perceptively, you wouldn't see anything, but you expect accuracy, right? But from a staff experience, Jeremy, huge. So obviously, when I started, I was doing the sales and onboarding and customer support and all of that. I still remember, freezing, snowy January, standing in the basement of a restaurant here, doing the testing, doing the implementation, and making it work. The biggest source of satisfaction was seeing the look on this face of the staff.
Yep.
Like, are you serious that this works? Like, I don't have to do anything. I don't have to accept. I don't have to manage the tablet. And the kitchen receipt that prints out is just like as if you punched it in when somebody walked in.
Yep.
The efficiency of the kitchen operations actually increases 2 or 3x,
Yes.
right? So, but again, coming back to an earlier point, we had to show it, like, because they've been, listen, a lot of people have come and said that they can make my restaurant fly. We haven't moved an inch, so get out.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Absolutely fair. But I'm giving this to you as free of cost for 1 full month. If it doesn't work, you don't pay me anything. Even when it does work, you are only paying me month to month to month. We don't have an annual payment policy. Like, we don't accept annual payments or contracts. But I
Nice.
think it's this philosophy that prove your solution out. That's really helped us get adopted by these operators at the staff level, at the manager level, and at the owner level.
Yeah. Well, and we talked about the guests, but at the staff level, now this young lady that was serving us no longer has to manage the difference between one of the 4 tablets that's dinging, and she probably has the sounds memorized from the DoorDash tablet to the GrubHub tablet to the UberEats tablet. She's got the one memorized. Oh, those guys have a little bit longer time for me to accept it. So I'm going to take care of this guest. Whereas if it was a different one that might cancel the order on them, she's going to leave me and end up dealing with that guest. I have a very true story that I shared with that I've shared with our audience a few times. It's just there's a brand that we won't go back to anymore because
They don't care about it.
they don't care about it. The third party delivery was more important than the guest standing in front of them, and it made for a terrible guest experience. So for those guests that are walking in the door, that are there on property, they no longer get a second fiddle to this, And again, some brands have done it better than others. Some brands will staff it, and even in tablet hell world. Yeah. Where is it going, Vishal? Like, where is this world going? Because if you'd have told me 7 years ago that I was going to pay 30% more or 20% more to order and have it delivered to my house, or 50% more in some cases, but my credit card would say different. My personal credit card would say different. If somebody would have told me 7 years ago that I was going to order this much takeout and delivery and have it delivered to my house from these third-party apps, I wouldn't have believed it. But clearly, the consumer has spoken. They're willing to spend the money. They're willing to spend the energy to go through those different platforms. And tech like yours is helping make it more efficient for restaurants. But where is it going? Where's the industry going in your mind? And where do you see that future as you look out? Because you're on kind of the forefront of it and on the front edge of it with so many others.
Sure. I think when we talk about third-party apps as a whole, right, how we've started viewing this is these are all just digital ordering channels.
Yep.
Right. There's one obvious, very prominent and pervasive myth that third-party delivery is evil. They're here to suck the life and blood out of the restaurant industry. I think that's a very targeted narrative being peddled by some players for whom it benefits them, and they've pitched this as a war of first party versus third party. I think that's absolutely wrong, and it's very, very dangerous, because we've had some operators tell us, like, hey, we're shutting off a third party because we have a first party solution, and now all the orders will magically just show up on the first party. And I'm like, this could shut down your business. Like,
yes.
Be very careful. But this narrative, Jeremy, is something that's really dangerous that I really don't subscribe to. I think it's a matter of first party and third party, which means you use these third party platforms for your marketing purposes, right?
Yep.
2 blocks down from my house, Jeremy, amazing mom and pop shop empanada place. Mind blowing. You come to New York, you should try it. I would not for the life of me have ever discovered it if it wasn't for Uber Eats or DoorDash.
Yep. And now
Right?
you're a regular.
Now I'm a regular, right? Naya Express, amazing Mediterranean food here in New York. I actually discovered it on DoorDash or Uber Eats, and now I order from them directly.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, these platforms are providing a marketing engine that none of the operators, except if you're a Domino's or a Subway's, you can't do that.
Yep.
But once having acquired the customer, whether you're a one location shop, 10, 50, 100, you need to have your first party solution where your loyal customers can come back and order from you.
Yeah.
So it's first party and third party. It's marketing and native. It's not one versus the other, right?
Absolutely.
I think that's a really bad narrative that's been going on in this industry. Where I see that evolving even further is there will be more and more digital channels that will become available to the operators. For example, you could order food on your Alexa, right?
Yep.
You could order food from your Amazon Watch. DoorDash and Wendy's had a very amazing announcement that you can order Wendy's through DoorDash while you're watching TV on your Roku.
Interesting. Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that recently.
It's nothing but the pervasiveness of digital channels. So I don't have to go to an app to order, but I am watching TV. I'm on my smartwatch. My Alexa's always on. I am watching video games on Twitch. I'll just be able to order from there.
I love it. I love that concept. I do think that that's going to continue to be there, and I think consumers are going to continue. And restaurateurs need to figure out how to serve those guests if they choose to. You know, I'm guessing the Ruth Chris of the world most likely are not going to continue to grow that through the Alexa, but Chipotle or Wendy's or you know, Five Guys, those guys are gonna continue to double down in those worlds, you know, and allow for people to order through whatever means they want. The Apple Watch, the Alexa, you know, their phone, a full browser. Yeah, I was talking to somebody recently about the whole idea of even group ordering, and I think the idea of group ordering. Talk to me a little bit about group ordering. You know, we're all hanging out watching football on a Sunday afternoon, and we want to order from Buffalo Wild Wings.
Sure.
But I want my traditional buffalo wings. You want yours with barbecue. My wife wants the lemon pepper. Today, in that world with third-party delivery or even first-party delivery, it turns into this like, oh, let me pass my phone around the room and let people order on my phone versus being able to send out links. And talk to me a little bit about where you see that going.
Sure. I love that you mentioned one of our brands, one of our clients.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Jeremy, if you don't mind, there's one other interesting screen that we haven't talked about.
Absolutely.
We always talk about our TV, we talk about our laptops, we talk about our phone. Your screen in the car, I think, is the next frontier.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I can see it. I happen to be a Tesla driver, which I can't wait to do that because, well, and I do see, you know, and I have this philosophy, and one of my friends who's been in the restaurant industry for a long time, if I said to you, what do you order from that empanada place? If I say, do you want to go to the empanada place? You're going to pick one of three items. And if you don't feel like that, you're going to say, no, I don't want to go to the empanada place. They might have 30 empanadas on their menu, but you're going to think about the 1 to 3 that you want. And do I want that? We are creatures of habit as humans. And you're going to, you know, this might not, I mean, it's at that same Indian restaurant that I was telling you the story with my son the other day. I thought I ordered, you know, kind of the very American, you know, chicken tikka masala. I happened to have ordered paneer masala on accident. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until the food showed up. And I'm like, this doesn't taste like my normal chicken tikka masala, but it was a new Indian restaurant that I'd never been to before. And I looked at the menu and I just kind of said, oh, I want that. And later I'm searching on my phone. What is paneer? I didn't even know what paneer was. I thought it was, you know, again, I thought because the lady walked up and says, you know, paneer. But at the end of the day, I think we as humans are going to be creatures of habit. So back to the phone. Right now, my Tesla, when I get into my car, if I get in my car in the morning, it says you're going to work. If I get in my car in the afternoon and it sees an appointment for my son's baseball game, it starts to navigate me to his baseball game. Why is it not going to be the same thing when I get into my car? My iPhone does the same thing where it's like, oh, you must be going here. Or, you know, and so I can fully see that the car giving me recommendations and suggestions that says, you typically order Chipotle on Tuesday nights. Do you want me to put in the same order as last time, or do you want to modify it? and I'm picking Chipotle. I know that's not one of your brands, but just, in general.
Exactly. And Jeremy, we talk about creatures of habit. Have you watched The Big Bang Theory?
Yes.
Sheldon is not that different from us. We think of him as an oddball creature, but think about it. Thursday nights are pizza nights.
Yep.
It is what it is. Tuesday nights are laundry nights. So we are creatures of habit. And when you get in your car in the evening and they say, hey, this is Wednesday night and you like to, order from this place, would you like to just repeat your order? You say yes, and it goes through. I think that's the next frontier. But where I'm thinking this is going is these are all just digital channels.
Yep.
And what we want to be here is the infrastructure, the pipeline that manages all of these digital channels and funnels them right into the core heart of a kitchen's operations.
Yeah.
So that the restaurant operator, whether it's a one location mom and pop shop or a 1,000 location chain, they don't have to worry about onboarding with different solutions. They can just automatically be present where the customers are present.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Because I think this idea of going to an app to order food is going to stay, but now the food is going to come to you where you are to tell you like, hey, you've been watching this video game for 3 hours. Are you hungry?
Yeah. Well, and I think back to that idea that, we are pretty attached to our phones, but as we are starting to get wiser about that and be where people are, I think at the end of the day, if that means that, it's just all of these digital channels, whether that's the phone, whether that's the TV, whether that's your computer screen, whether that's your tablet or your car. Talk to me a little bit about the consolidation in the industry. There's been quite a bit of consolidation. Restaurant brands are consolidating. Technology companies are consolidating. Point of sale companies are consolidating. Do you think that's good for consumers? Do you think that's bad for consumers? Is that good for tech, bad for tech? Talk to me a little bit about what that looks like, because I think at the end of the day, it creates opportunities, and I'd love to know your opinion and thoughts on it.
Sure. When we started out, we were trying to raise funds. One thing that we kept hearing from almost every VC is, there's going to be consolidation in the space. Are you going to be relevant anymore? Right. And my only response to that was, the restaurant industry, the food industry, whatever you want to call it, it's no different from any other industry.
Yep.
It's just in a different life cycle. Right.
Yes.
So when you say there's going to be consolidation, you're not really Nostradamus. Like, you're not predicting something that no one has ever seen before.
Yes.
What I would give you credit for is if you tell me when that consolidation is going to happen.
Yep.
Don't tell me the sun is going to set. Tell me the exact time the sun is going to set, because we all know the sun is going to set.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Well, and even in the case of what you guys are doing, it's a checkmate. You have multiple competitors in the space. Exactly. So there's constantly going to be people that are going. So this brand is going to consolidate, and somebody's going to come in behind them and backfill that space. Even during COVID and everything coming out of COVID, I was in New York in January for the first time since before COVID, and while there was still quite a bit of stuff shut down, I was blown away with how resilient it was, because at least when you look at the news media, the place is a ghost town and nobody's, they're all 80% of the restaurants have shut down in New York. And at the end of the day, humans are resilient. They're going to go back to doing these things, and again, even 20 years ago, somebody had told me there was an empanada place. I'd be like, what's an empanada? But now that's like a huge, so I love it. So we're going to wrap up here in just a few minutes, Vishal, but talk to me a little bit about your product. Where's the product going? You guys started, 7 years ago. You guys have been building this platform for quite some time. You're looking to be the plumbing between the different pieces of tech that are out there, the ordering platforms and the technology in the store. But where are you guys going? You guys just had a recent release. I'd love to have you talk about that for a few minutes.
Absolutely. Where we're going, big picture, even as cliche as it may sound, is continuing to solve actual operator problems. We do not want to be the people sitting behind computers building technology for technology's sake, exactly like we discussed. In this recent release we've had with DoorDash, after speaking with multiple operators, they said, the integration is great, but we need better reporting. We need better control over our digital orders. DoorDash was extremely great in helping, working with us, building out that API so we can serve up these reports in a ready-to-consume manner to these operators. We also, again, in listening more and more to these operators, they said, it's like that same problem. In your life, you have one problem that's a really big problem, and once you solve it, then the next biggest problem becomes the biggest problem.
Absolutely.
Right? We've kind of solved this tablet health problem. But then they said, the financial statements that we receive from these third-party platforms, it never matches up to what shows up in my bank account.
Yep.
Like
Okay.
I have no way to connect those. So we have a product called Accounting Reconciliation that helps them do exactly this. It unifies all of the orders, the summaries from each of these platforms, and ties them all the way to the POS and to their bank account.
I love it.
Then we have our marketplace. So we've obviously built integrations with over 50 different POSs. We've released Marketplace as a really easy to consume APIs for developers to develop on top of it online ordering channels, to develop on top of it so that they can get easy access to these 50 different POSs and with very, very simple distribution, right? So they don't have to go building about, there may be a really good delivery service in Southern Florida, but if you go and sell your service to a restaurant operator and say, I want to put a tablet in your location right now, in 2023, they will be shown the door.
Yeah.
What we are doing here, Jeremy, is we are flipping the model on its head and saying, we don't care how many customers you have. Come work with us, build the integration, and then go out and sell your product.
Yeah. So they have their go-to-market strategy ends up being fully baked rather than a point solution that's just a tablet going in there to have a bunch of delivery drivers.
Like if you're developing an app for Apple Watch or a smartwatch, right? And let's go to an operator and say, hey, I will give you 10 orders a week, but you'll have to put this tablet on your shelf. It's not going to fly.
I love it.
What we're saying is build your app, build the integration with us, then go out and sell. So we are the ones assuming the risk because we are putting in the effort to work with that developer to build that channel out.
I love it.
So that's how we're helping, hopefully grow the adoption of digital channels in this industry.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to throw a curveball at you real quick, just because this is a common thing that we get from people. How do I update my third-party delivery with what products are available, what my pricing is, without having to manage 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 and 20 different websites?
Sure.
Whether it's the Countdown 86 that I've only got 10 salmon specials left, or it's the price on, my beef, beef short ribs went up by $3 today. How have you guys solved that challenge? Because I do think that is some of the reluctance for people to even get into multiple third-party delivery platforms. So I'd love to have you talk about how tech can help solve that.
Sure. It's a very, very core part of our solution. So we not only integrate the orders from the third parties, but I think a huge part of the solution we provide is taking the menu from your POS and syncing it up to all of the various third-party platforms.
Yep.
We have 2 different kinds of integration. Either you can do it directly on your POS, or you can do it from a web-based portal that we have, where you can update your price, you can update the availability, you can add an item, you push a button, and it goes out to all of the delivery platforms in one go.
I love
it. Delivery, but we are now starting to talk about as digital channels.
Yeah, because it's not just delivery. It could be catering, it could be pickup. Yeah, it could be first party. Yep.
Kiosk, it could be your pay at table, whatever digital channel you own. And our business model supports that because we don't keep charging you more and more for every integration that you have. It's a flat monthly price per month per location. So we are encouraging and hopefully pushing the ball forward in helping the adoption of these digital channels with restaurant operators of all sizes.
I love it. So I'm not Five Guys. I'm not running an IT shop that's got more employees than most of these mom and pops have. How do I engage with the team at ItsaCheckmate? How do I learn more about how I've got tablet hell today. I'm a restaurateur. I'm sitting here listening to the restaurant technology guys.
Sure.
I've said, you know what, I got to have ItsaCheckmate. These guys have sold me that this is something I need. What does engagement look like? What can I expect from your team as they start to work with them to understand how do I get it integrated back to my point of sale?
Our phone number is listed on our website, not very deep. Our customer support and our sales number is the first thing that you will see on the top of our website once you go there. Call us, email us at hello@ItsaCheckmate. My email ID is vishal@itsacheckmate.com. engage in any which way you want. Our focus here, again, like I said, it's hardcore built into our business model that we have to prove out our solution to you. I know we don't have time to go into the length of the onboarding process, but we don't earn a single penny from you if you don't continue our solution. And if we don't continue to service you month on month, you can cancel at any time. So reach out, get a free trial, see where the rubber meets the road. It actually works, and the tickets print in your kitchen printer. That's it. That's the bottom line. Are the tickets printing in my kitchen printer? Right. That's the service and promise we stand behind.
I love it. I love it. And so for our listeners, guys, I know many of you guys will hit me up at trade shows and tell me, I didn't even know that this existed. I didn't even know that something like this was out there, which is part of why we do this podcast, is to share products like what you guys have out there. So while you guys are online checking out ItsaCheckmate, I'm gonna go see what checkmate.com is, the $200,000 website, URL name. I'm gonna go figure out what that means. But while you guys are online checking out ItsaCheckmate, please go like and subscribe to the podcast so you guys get new episodes every time. If you haven't already done your review on your favorite podcast player, it helps others find about the show. Go share it with some friends. Vishal, thank you so much for talking about your origin story, what you guys are doing to solve restaurant challenges. It's so much fun to talk restaurant tech, and I've been a huge fan since you guys started. And I know you and I talked pre-show with some of your team, so it's fun to have you on the show to talk about all of the success that you guys have found.
Thank you, Jeremy. Really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak about ourselves.
Awesome. And to our listeners, guys, we know that you guys have lots of choices, so we appreciate you guys spending an hour with us each week when we post one of these episodes. Vishal, have a fantastic day, and to our audience, make it a great day.
Thank you. Take care.